Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, another game, another you, another me in the left-hand corner of the map playing as Tsukiyomi. His name is Joe. The Joe man. He's back. For those you don't know, this is the Joe who absolutely and unequivocally dominated all of Legacy with his ridiculously strong Egyptian and all the other good stuff. His opponent today, an up-and-comer, playing as Poseidon. His name is Izamato. We are on the map Ghost Lake. It's 2 gold mine Ghost Lake. We've got a Japanese versus Greek affair. Don't ask me how both of these guys got to Ghost Lake, but they've managed to somehow get through here. They've traversed the world, traversed the oceans, did not have their ships broken, but they probably set out to sail with a few more units, a few more humans. Lost some along the way, but they're ready to rebuild now and take over the Ghost Lake map. I don't know what I'm saying. We'll see how this game's going to go, but it's going to be an interesting one. We've got some relics on the map. There is the Tower of Cestus, which is going to be nice for dealing with some myth units with those towers. We've also got Pygmalion's statue, a nice little defensive relic there. Up onto the top side of the map, there is also the Eye of Horus, huge late game relic. Once you get 4 town centers, it's plus 12 population, which is incredibly good. And we also have the Great Zompantli, so a little bit of Sentry Tower synergy or Tower synergy with that Tower of Cestus if you grab both those relics there. But both players at the moment are simply just looking for goats at the current moment. Joe's got himself 11 and Izamato only has 8. Of course, he does have the advantage as he's got that Kitsune that does move significantly faster. Actually, you know what? It's not significantly faster. I don't know why. I thought this guy was faster than this. He's only at 5.7 speed. Maybe it was nerfed. I can't even remember. There's been so many changes recently that, like, my knowledge of the game and, like, the finer details is starting to get a little bit... It's starting to waver. Let's just say that much. It's starting to waver. I remember if you could, like, when I was playing Legacy and Voobly Balance patch 5.0 or something, we'd be on the same patch for years. And I would pretty much know, if you ask me, I'd pretty much know what everything was doing roughly. I pretty much know it off the top of my head. But now I'm just like, I'm gonna have to check. I've gotta have to check. Because, yeah, there's so many changes and so many things to keep you on your toes. Nonetheless, Izamato here going up through Hermes. And he is going to wander up to the top side, grab himself that Eye of Horus. Always nice. It does mean, though, however, he's not going to be able to get that immediate pressure, which you do like to do versus a Japanese player, especially a Japanese player who is yet to advance. Maybe an idea here for Joe would be to simply just throw up a wall that comes down to this side, and then he could stick a Miko over on this side for pure defense. Oh, villagers have got an idea of their own on how they want to play the defense. They want to get on the front lines there. As he does get sent packing here. Is that going to be a dead vill? Oh, no. Really, no excuses to be losing a villager to a Centaur that early on, but it does end up happening to even the best players, as this Miko does come back with its own relic. The Pygmalion statue, if that was in earlier, the villager probably would have stayed alive, but nonetheless, Inari Okami is coming through, and the villagers can come back. Yeah, if Joe had been a little bit quicker with it, got these walls set up to some degree. Didn't even have to finish the walls, but just got the walls set up. Then he could have just stuck his Miko over here, and at the very least, he would have been okay until the Atalanta comes through. But now Centaur is back in. A little bit of damage to come down as the wall will end up falling over here. And now Joe is in the tiniest little bit of a difficult position. He's going to be going for a stable immediately. You kind of have to go for the stable. I always like sort of questioned it. I'm like, why am I going for... Oops, sure, eat the Hippias? No. Why would I go... If I've got access to all the units in the world, why would I not just go for the units that kill off the Hippias? Well, I just go for Yati Spearman, right? Well, the real answer and the real reason for this is I actually do need the Naginata Rider. There will be a dead Miko and a dead Hippias. I need the Naginata Rider here in order to deal with the Atalanta. Now, I don't actually have to go for too many of these in this situation. I actually think the best bet here is to go for majority Yeti Spearman, 1 or 2 Bushy at the very least, and then into Yeti Spearman with maybe 5-ish Naginata Riders, just so I can deal with those Atalanta and all the other good stuff. As one Naginata Rider here will end up going down. You don't really want to be losing any of these units in your main base. That's what the Miko are there for. As the Jiragumo coming back in, we will have over onto this side the Atalanta just charging straight through here. Don't ask me what her deal is, as she will get out, but no, she won't. She might fall here. 10 HP and getting chased down by a Naginata Rider. Not going to allow that one away. That is dead. The game to continue along. You have to be careful. Theseus will deal with that Jiragumo more easily. After all is said and done, it's a 1 villager advantage, or 1.5 villager advantage here for Aizumaru. He only picked off 1 villager. I say only. It's not the biggest of deals. Yes, he's found an advantage. He traded his Centaur for a villager, basically, and a bit of pressure. But I think Joe's fine here to move along. The question is, what is Aizumaru going to do next? And this is where scouting is really, really important. If you want to be a really, really high level player and you want to be consistently winning games, right now is the point where Aizumaru could change his game plan a little bit, or not even change his game plan, but change what he's trying to do. So at the moment, he was rushing, he was putting pressure on, right? He built units to do that, forces a reply. He then pulls back. He could continue to spam units, but you need to confirm that he is continuing to build units. Great control here from Joe, as the Bushy does take down the Centaur over there, but trades that one for a Bushy. It's not actually a terrible trade, though I think Joe will be happy with trading the Bushy for 1 Centaur up onto the top side. What I mean is, if the Kitsune come through here and they just get a little bit of line of sight onto these stables and they see Hippias coming out, it probably means that, well, Aizumaru wants to keep spamming units out, which does mean there's no second town center coming in. So that type of awareness and scouting allows you as the Tsukiyomi player to say, great, let me build some of those Yati Spearmen. They're going to be really worth it. If, for example, Aizumaru was no longer building any units and Joe went into these Yati Spearmen, then all of a sudden there's a lot of issues that could happen. For example, a heroic age coming through, or Hapaspist or more myth units or whatever, could be an issue. But the Hippias do sneak in here. The villagers for Joe not paying attention till the last minute. Will they all go down? Yes, they will. 1 goes down. The next one does get prevented. Great control from Aizumaru. He gets 3 kills. Villager up onto this side, also getting kills as Joe's defenses have a massive hole in it. The villagers up onto this side will make a run for the tower. They will get back there, and the Hippias are out of here without taking any revenge damage. That there is the whole reason for the Hippias production. That's the whole plan here from Aizumaru. He just wants to get in, get Vil picks, run away. He could easily turn and take out that Naginata Rider. Don't know why Joe thinks he can make that happen. Now Joe's going to be attempting to do his own little cheeky raid. We do see some hoplites actually coming through. I like that decision actually from Aizumaru. He needs the hoplites as a sort of mix-in for the Hippias. Makes the micro difficult for Joe. Joe's going to have to get his Yati onto the Hippias. The hoplites don't really have a counter getting built at the moment. Samurai or Yumi Archer will be needed, or more myth unit like Jiragumo could be a pretty decent angle here as well for dealing with those. But nonetheless, Joe now looking to get some of this revenge fire on. He's sort of stabilized to some degree early on from that pressure, but he's behind by 5 villages. So the longer he waits, the more stuff Aizumaru is going to be able to have. Aizumaru now just about in onto his spirited charge. Some Centaur here would not go astray either for Aizumaru. I would think 3 villagers or 4 villagers on the temple at this point would be exactly what he needs, actually. Maybe the hoplites were a bit of a mistake when you think about it. Hippias beat the Bushi. Centaur are never going to die on the Musha. So you can just go Hippias Centaur here. And of course, the Bushi are going to be enough to prevent the Centaur from really doing any poke damage. But once you actually end up taking the fight, the Hippias will be able to charge around, kill off the Bushy, and the Centaur will be able to take a couple of pot shots, and then all the Bushy will die, and then the Centaur will kill everything else off. That's kind of the thought process there, but I like the idea of hoplites as well. So long as there's a little bit more of the old myth unit coming in as the walls coming up all around the bottom side. Nice play from Izamato in a cavalry war. This is very, very, very important as these walls will all come up, and an attempt to break through here does come in, but the Hippias are through, and they do have 6.3 speed versus, I guess these are also 6.3 speed, but the Kitsune is bringing them up to that speed. Oh, I see. So it turns out the Kitsune goes up to 6.3 speed in the classical age, and in the archaic age is a bit slower. I should know this stuff. I really should, but I just don't. So there's that. I'm learning. It's a slow process. We'll get there in the end. Hachiman now coming through for our main man, Joe. I think a lot of what's happening in this game thus far is there's a huge villager advantage for Izamato, but Izamato is spending on defense, spending on tech switching, spending on technology, and even though the military diff is equal here, the position that Izamato has is just really, really nice. That being said, Hachiman is scary because it does play around the fact that these walls are up. You can get Tengu, you dive in, you kill a villager, you run away, etc., etc. As the Hippias are going to be making an attempt to sneak around the army of Joe, and you can kind of still defend with this hoplites and all the other good stuff. There is still a ceasefire available. Lots and lots of gold in the bank for Joe. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. He's going to have to bring those villagers elsewhere. Food somewhere on the map. I don't know. Comes onto the spot, picks up the Kitsune, will be retreating for the time being. Up onto this top side here, we've got the walls coming through here for Joe as well to try and protect this food, but this is a very, very weak position for the time being as the Naginata Riders will attempt to break through here. So let's the hoplites get in before the wall comes down. He should be okay. I don't think the Naginata Riders will want to charge through here and attempt to make anything happen. For the time being, there's nothing else over here, so he can very easily pull back into the main base. But there is a little gap in this wall, so not fully safe. Up onto this side, the Hippias sneaking through. Oh no, this is so bad for Joe. Joe's about to lose all these villagers. He didn't finish off his wall. He tried to. He just kind of let it happen. This weakness, we talked about it. The swampland does get dropped down as a bit of an attempt to keep everything from dying. One or two Hippias go down. The Hippias are going to try and swing around up onto the top side. Does not need to get any more value. He already picked off so many villages. It's 15 villager differential. That being said, Dionysus is coming through. That'll be about a 4 villager cut back, as Joe will be able to catch up a little bit there. But man, that's a brutal thing to have happen. That sort of a raid. Up onto the top side, does see the one berry bush left here with 44 food that Izamato did abandon. He said, I don't want to be there. No sense. I've got myself herdables. I got myself a gold mine. I got myself watchtowers. My base is really, really safe. Let's just hold this villager advantage. All he has to do is wait a couple minutes and spend all the resources. He does not need to engage anything with this Tsukiyomi. Do not fight the Tsukiyomi at the moment. Just wait. All the power spike for right now is in the side of Joe. Joe's even taken out some units in obviously in trade for some villages, but he's taken out some military. His military advantage is incredibly big here. Dionysus is just about to hit. All the upgrades need to come through. More hoplites, more Hippias coming in. He will probably need some Peltast in, though you can make it work with Hippias. Even with the Thracian horses, it's still... Actually, no, I don't think it's that difficult with Poseidon Hippias. Sometimes I'd say Hippias versus, specifically, Inari Orkami, Yumi Horse Archer. Not the best, but definitely with Thracian horses and Poseidon and Hermes, it's going to be quite good, as the walls will come up here for Izamato. I love how he builds these walls. That's how you build them. Not one villager at a time. Get in. This is a very weak position. Get over here, invest in the walls, and then get onto the food. Really, really nice. Love that there. As some more Centaur will be coming in for Izamata. I do wish he was... I do wish he'd put more villagers on favor here. He's got the villager advantage. There's no real problem with him getting a little bit more favor in. Start working up to that 175 or 179 population. He's getting his upgrades in, and now he's out in the middle of the map. This is not the fight that you're going to be wanting to take here. He goes for it, but he should not be looking to take this fight. Bronze could get dropped down, but look at the difference in population. Joe's running at the moment. I think he wins this fight. He's got the Shogun to deal with those Centaur as well. He can definitely have an advantage if he decides to take the fight here, but he's pulling all the way back to his main base. Now he decides to turn around. And, well, I think Izamata should probably just consider hitting ceasefire here. He does split off, chasing the Yumi Horse Archers over onto this side. Joe with a nice micro himself does pull back, but again, moving back and forth. This is a very, very strange situation to be in, as, well, Joe says, now I can fight, but I couldn't fight before. He's chasing. I'm very confused as to what these guys are really trying to do here. If Joe just went Yumi Horse Archer and sort of poking while he was running, kind of get it, because you're getting free damage off, but that was a strange interaction. I thought Joe's army would have won that fight without Bronze getting dropped. Maybe that was what Joe was concerned about. If he sits there and fights, turns and fights, Bronze gets clicked, then he has to run. But I feel like he would have been fine if that happened. Anyways, nonetheless, Joe's still looking for this engagement. The longer this goes on, the stronger Izamata is going to be getting. Izamata is up onto this top food. He's trying to get over here and put the fortress up. And one cheeky Tengu forces out a ceasefire. Now, ceasefire does slow the build process of a fortress. The heroes will get brought back. I think Izamata in general should just pull his army up to the top and sort of just play defense for a little bit here. Getting caught out in the middle of the map is going to be a huge advantage for the Tsukiyomi player. You can see it's a 7-8 villager differential, which is substantial, but it's not substantial enough to throw away an army, which is potentially what will happen here. Equal on military differential, but you also have to remember you're taking a fight, and an equal fight here is giving resources over to the Japanese. So we don't really want to be taking those equal fights, but this is looking pretty good here, actually, for Joe. The Centaur special also coming down, getting a fairly decent amount of damage done. Hoplites now coming through a little bit on the late side. Izamata pulls back, using that speed walk here to get out of the fight, turns around, has the special back up on the Centaur. There goes the next tier of Bushido, as Heavy does manage to come through. Those Centaur are getting some good damage. There goes the Bronze. And Joe will have to pull back yet again. Can he get the surround onto the Shogun? Yes. Yes, he can. No, he can't. He gets a good amount of damage done, though, as the units will pull back behind the wall. And again, I don't know. Just because you click Bronze doesn't mean you need to keep fighting. You don't need to. Making this sort of a fight here sort of makes sense because of the Bronze 48% pierce sum with 375 HP is a lot of effective HP. But these Yumi Horse Archers do get bonus damage versus Smith units. So sitting in front of them and just tanking damage might not be the best usage for those, as more Centaur will come down. You can actually see here now that Izamata, he did decide for a little bit there to spam villagers onto favor, but he's missing this technology, and he's missing this technology, and he's missing this technology. I should bring this up as well. This is maybe something that some people don't fully comprehend about the Centaur. It's base HP increase. It had a range decrease in the recent patch, and some Age of Mythology players at the higher levels have said this has basically killed the unit. Obviously, you and I have both seen and experienced the Centaur being incredibly effective, but what makes the Centaur so much stronger now after getting an extra 50 HP is that this Sylvan Lore technology now gives it 35% of 300 bonus rather than 35% of 250 bonus. This technology here gives 5% extra HP of 300 rather than 250. So, and you also get 5% extra in the Heroic Age and 5% extra in the Mythic Age. So, in other words, the unit has been buffed to the nines in terms of survivability. That being said, the range does put it in range of getting attacked. So what would you rather? Someone who's got the best micro in the world being able to use this unit, or you have to trade some HP to actually deal some damage? I think I prefer the world where this unit has to trade some HP to get some damage dealt. That seems fair to me. Because it's very, very fast. It's got a lot of damage that it can do. And I think we're going to see that in this game as these upgrades are now coming through. Take a look at the stats. 495 HP on a 6.3 speed unit. The rain of fire coming down from the skies here as the Hoplites dealing with that front line beautifully. The Shogun on the backside here, this is unacceptable from Aizumaru. He has to target that down. Nonetheless, the special coming down yet again to get even more damage done onto those Yumi Horse Archers. Unfortunately, the big problem unit is the Yati Spearman here, which is dealing with all of his cavalry beautifully. Great play from Joe. Not the best from Aizumaru, but Aizumaru still dominating this fight as Joe pulls back. And we'll see how he's going to go moving forward after all of this damage is done with. That being said, I mean, he's got the siege started. He's attacking. We do have some heroes now coming out. The Daimyo coming in. But here's the thing. You just make Prodromus versus Daimyo. So unlike versus Greek, unlike versus some of the Chinese heroes, these Centaur need to run. Unlike some of those, like the tagless, the Aztecs, the Japanese heroes are all tagged. So this here, Daimyo, this is a cavalry unit. The Onnomusha is an infantry unit. The Bushi is an archer unit. Or a ranged unit. So the unit that's the best versus this for Greek is the Prodromus. And that's a unit here that obviously Aizumaru already wants to build as he is continuously spamming out these Centaur Polmark. At this point, if you've got 3 Centaur in the bank, I'm going to say, and you're going to continue fighting like he is, get yourself that extra temple. There's really no problems here with spending an extra 300 resources in another temple, because this unit is your 3 population archer. It just is. It says it's a myth unit. It's tagged a myth unit, but this is our archer. We don't need to build a single archer here because we have this unit. It's got way more HP than an archer, got way more DPS than an archer. If you want to do the math on 18 divided by 3, and that's just the regular ranged attack, 18 divided by 3, and compare it to any other archer's DPS, I'm fairly certain you'll find that the Centaur Polmark will have the most, and that's not even including the fact that he's got this volley, which boosts his DPS even more. So yes, this guy is an absolutely insane unit. Very, very strong. And we'll see if Joe is going to be able to outplay in order to take it out. That's the big question. He's got the Daimyo out, but Prodromus counter those beautifully. Any control, any amount of good control from Aizumaru, he should be okay here. He's got the speed advantage on the Centaur at 6.3 versus 5.5. He's got the speed advantage on the Prodromus at 6.9 versus the 5.5. The Yumi Horse Archers do have bonus damage here, so they're doing 14.6 times 1.2. Quick math would say that that's around about 1.5 extra damage to the myth units, which is not really that much. Does decide to try and push in here, get some rain of damage done with the archers, couple units falling. He's going to pull back. Thracian Horses is now finally coming through, as we do have another town center up for Aizumaru in the top. We've got the fortresses coming up over here as well, as Centaur's going to continue to get this damage done. That's that rain of fire down. The thing is, you want to... Wow, he just tanks all that. You want to try and keep the units in the rain of fire. So when you use that special, it's not even a... of course you can poke with it. Don't get me wrong. Of course you can poke with it. But it's not a poking sort of... Like, that's not what it's best at. The thing it's best at is actually the long fight. We take a long fight over... How long does it actually take for the thing to finish? You got 5 seconds and then 3 seconds. It's 5 seconds, right? In the last 3 seconds, it does bonus damage, right? So you want to keep the enemy sitting in this position. Look at the damage these guys have got. He comes in and takes the fight, loses a couple of them, but like he's Hang on, I gotta confirm. The difference in Horse Archer is absolutely on full display right now. But Mythic Age in for Joe. That's huge. We are seeing an attempt to take this fight right now. New Moon to come through as the bronze weapons is coming in from Joe. He's trying to get himself the upgrades such that he can get some iron technologies in for free with that New Moon as the Centaur trying to mic around. This is not exactly what he should be trying to do. He should just run from this. Don't try and play a game of chicken with the time you're running around. It's only going to be resulting in bad stuff happening. He's got to pull back. Look at all the resources he's trying to get to the Mythic Age at the moment. He's going to take some damage on the retreat there as well. A little bit of unfortunate control from Izamato, but Joe managing to survive here for the moment. The other issue, and it's fairly substantial, is look at the gold mine situation. Joe's got one gold mine left. Izamato has got one gold mine left. Izamato, without question, needs to get himself a trade route started. He's going Artemis, which I love, gives him access to the Chimera, which is going to be really, really important. Really, really important for like stabilizing and keeping himself going for the sort of heroic age while he gets his trade route started. Like food costing, AoE damage dealing myth unit that can help deal with those Yumi Horse Archers sounds fantastic to me. Onto the top side, little raids up onto this position as it is open. The villagers have opened this up. A little bit unfortunate there for Izamato, but you've got to be ready for that. The other problem here, though, for Izamato, even though he's in a fantastic position, the problem for Izamato is the Omaraki is coming. And I've been hyping up the Centaur for a little bit in this game, but there's one unit that reigns supreme above all other units in this game at the moment, in my opinion, and that is the Omaraki. Joe only has one Miko, however. So in terms of problems that Izamato is going to have to deal with, it's not that big of a deal just yet. 1 or 2 Omaraki I'm not scared of. 5 Omaraki plus, now I'm starting to get terrified. Look at that damage there, actually, as that Centaur gets caught out of position. But we'll see if Izamato can figure this all out as the Wretches coming around onto the side. Hoplites still, Hoplites sort of charging into the to the golden chariot, the golden horse archers, the Yumi horse archers, the champion horse archers. We'll see if Izamato can figure this one out. He does drop the earthquake into the main base. That's going to kill off the town center and kill off all the other houses and everything else. Significant amount of damage done here. Town center number 2 is up though for Joe, so he will be able to continue here as the swampland does get dropped down. Shogun coming through will end up falling there as well as the hoplites can dive into the fortress. Not really a huge amount of damage to come through here for Joe at the moment, but Izamato still hasn't started his trade route. He's got 2,300 gold remaining. Not ideal. The Chimera is in. Izamato moving up onto this side. He's got to somehow get in and take out that Plaguebringer Omaraki. You can use the Centaur. Definitely. Special attack onto an Omaraki there. I believe it's 18. 18 PS times 2, so 36. Times 10, so 360. Not quite enough to kill off this Omaraki with that one attack. But 2 attacks, that's probably enough. Actually, I don't even know. Maybe it's not. How much does it have? 1, 2, 2, 2. Maybe it needs more than that. Anyways, if the Omaraki just flies over here, that's definitely going to go down. Well, looks like Joe's in trouble here now. Joe, without question, in trouble. The one saving grace for Joe is that he's got 8 deer caravans. It's the one saving grace. He's got himself the gold mine. More stables coming up for Izamato. How does he not have a market started? How does he not have a trade route started here? He's got 36 villages. 36. Oop. A little bit of damage coming. You can see it. They actually don't do that. 2 shots. That amount of Centaur, 2-shotting a Omaraki. I think that's actually. If there were 5 though, that all the Centaur would get 1 shot. So that's the big difference maker there. So you've got to be really, really careful with when you decide to dive in. If the unit's on cooldown, sure, go for it. If it's got the special, stay away. As the horse archers coming up to the top, they're going to look to pick off some villagers here, but Izamato quickly responding. He does have his Centaur coming in onto the back. The Prodromus there as well. 7 speed. They will get a lot done over here against those Yumi horse archers. They also got a little bit of a boost. Kill the daimyo! Sometimes people forget that I think people forgot that the daimyo's cavalry tagged to some degree. Well, I say people. Izamato was forgetting that the daimyo is cavalry tagged on the fact that the shogun isn't cavalry tagged. It's more like a Son of Osiris type deal. It doesn't have a tag as a hero, so it's just a stock standard hero. You can't kill it with counter units. You want to use generalist units to get the maximum amount of damage done. And look at that. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's dead already. It dies in a couple of seconds. So yeah, with good control here, you can keep the daimyo off your Centaur very, very, very easily. As the Prodromus charging onto the backside, yet again. We'll pick off the daimyo first and foremost. As onto the side, some markets from Izamato here. That's a wild decision. Will that get spotted? I don't think it does. If the trade comes... No, it's going to go straight past the town center. That's a wild decision from Izamato. So here's the problem. The main problem for Izamato is he hasn't started a trade route. And he's got no gold income. The idea of going for a Titan here, that makes sense. Because his opponent won't be able to afford it. But Izamato, simply put, cannot... Oh, I love the Polyphemus as an answer for all those wretches. Izamato, simply put, cannot afford to take fights here. Because he can't build his units back out. As yet again, the Prodromus ignoring the heroes. Well, that's disappointing. Well, like... I've already explained that this should not happen. Izamato, huge mistake here, and I think that's him throwing the entirety of his army away, and he doesn't have a trade route. Now this is, after all is said and done, this is now actually Joe in the advantage. He has the advantage now. Joe has the advantage because you can't rebuild these units. Look at the gold. There's only 837 gold remaining. He's missing a lot of population here. With good control here on those Yumi horse archers, now there's not a really fantastic answer for them. Entirely hard, not a terrible answer, but you need more than one to be able to deal with it, as the Omaraki as well can keep getting built, only costing food, I believe. Yeah, only costing food. Of course, he needs more Miko, but he can spam those Miko out at the moment, get himself all the shrines, spam out Omaraki, and this is going to become a very tough time for Izamato. Now, luckily for Izamato, he does have himself this technology. The plague, the shafts of the plague. So late game wise, he's got all his armory upgrades. He can get into archers. His archers will be able to compete with the Yumi horse archer here. And we'll see if that's going to be something he's going to be able to make happen, as all of these horse archers do end up dying. The trade route for Joe is at 12. Markets on the top. Getting taken out. We see the markets getting placed over here now. We can just move over onto the bottom, re-wall this, get the market in this corner. Should be okay. I think Joe at the moment should be sneaking through here and looking to wall off this corner. Like, even if he just walls off, like this, for example, here. Like, if he just walls here. I mean, alternatively, just wall here and across here as well, right? Like, if we can just kind of make it wall like this, then that would be really, really good for Joe. But I'm not sure he's really not thinking about doing that just yet. And both players are in a little bit of a scramble, actually. I thought potentially Joe was in a better spot, but his trade route is up to 19. It's not really enough. Does he have himself the tech for... Yes, he does. He does have the tech for his Plaguebringer Omaraki, so every time he does some damage, that's going to be gold income. So he picks off a Centaur, gets gold, happy days. As now, that's the big advantage here, though, for Joe. Divine Prefecture comes in, and all of a sudden, these deer caravans... I don't believe it's going to tell me what their train speed is. It says 18 seconds. But with Divine Prefecture, that's going to be 60% faster. Not exactly sure how it works. They train 60% faster. Someone can do the math on me. For me, I'm not sure. We can just do some counting here. When one starts, we can check it out. The villagers, how if they train so quickly? You need so much food income. Okay, so that's at 20 seconds roughly, maybe a little bit before, maybe 19 seconds, and then it comes out at 10 seconds. Yeah, about 10 seconds to train one deer caravan. So very, very, very quick to get that economy in order. So Joe's economy is going to be absolutely fantastic here. As now moving into the Hypaspis and all the other good stuff. Izamato's big issue here is going to be, well, for one, he has to properly get his trade route started. He's got 7 donkey caravans. But the big problem for Izamato here is what units to build. And he is deciding to go into the Chimera. I love this decision. Flames of Typhon. But for those of you playing at home, does he have any out? No. I want to show off the actual stats here so you can see how long they're going to be able to survive versus a Deuterino. So they got 735 HP. I believe that's 1750 Pierce armor versus these guys who are doing 18.5 times the 1.2. I don't believe this tech gives any HP. No. So it's a decent amount of HP. It's a lot of units here though. Let's go 30 times 18.5. Someone do that math for me. That's a little bit on the more difficult side. 185 times, would you say it's 600, right? No? Yes. Something about 600 if we add the extra 1.2 on. Something about 600 damage per second. So yeah, they'll be able to 3-hit the Chimera. Which, if you've got a whole bunch of them running in, then they'll get their damage done with that special. Take a look at it. That's 1. Okay. I think if you have like 4 or 5 of them, it probably will actually torch the entirety of the human horse archers. But nonetheless, the Prodromus coming through on the side. Looks like the Riders of Rohan. He charges in. Now attack moves. Gonna get some big damage done onto those low HP units. I don't know where that Omaraki is going, but they've got a plan of their own as the Chimera continuing to come in. Once you get that Flames of Typhon technology, it's plus 40% bonus damage for a 20 divine, 6 divine per second. That's 6 times 6, so 36 divine damage. That's a lot of divine damage. Anyways, Izamato charges in onto the trade route. Disrupting this trade route might actually be game over. I thought this was full advantage for Joe, but he's just not able to deal with this army that Izamato is built. Full Prodromus at the moment. There's no gold in the bank, basically. Chimera Prodromus at this stage of the game. What do you build? Pushy? No. Probably Onnamusha is the right call here. Or the Omyoji, I guess. Omyoji is probably the right call here for Joe. It's the Chimera coming through, torching the ground that these units are standing on. The Miko's going to attempt to come in and help out, but she, I must say, she really does not do that much damage. Though she has had some significant glow-ups since the Classical Age. 8.6 hack damage per second is not nothing. But all the trade route for Joe now that he's been spamming, he's down to 5. He would have been at 40 or 50 before. And I think that there, ladies and gentlemen, does end up being the game as Izamato manages to hold on. I'm not sure what else Joe can do here. He's going after this town center. Killing the town center off does hurt the trade route for sure. So, nice move from Joe. Maybe I've called it too soon, but there's 100 population for Joe. I don't see it. 250 population for Izamato. Villagers dying left, right, and center. No food income to make use of that divine prefecture. The donkey caravans are coming back in, but as they motor across the map, they will be getting picked off. We see a Heliopolis coming through. This town center does fall. Militia are left here waiting to say, let's just make sure he doesn't take the town center for himself up here. As the castle on the back here will end up dying. Now the Polyphemus will wander in, clean up this castle. Heliopolis over here will roll through, take down the other castle, take down the town center. We will see the mechanical artisans coming through from Joe as he is trying to make something happen here, but you lose this town center, you lose part of your trade route, or you lose a lot of your trade route gold already, but you lose the ability for them to get much gold. How much is he getting here? 41 gold. That's not nothing. As the villagers popping out. Is there one Chimera in? No more Chimera. I'm sad. Where'd they all go? Oh, he's over here. Villagers will die very, very quickly here. As the Heliopolis are not going to die anytime soon. They've got so much HP. Villagers are never going to be the answer to dealing with this to stay alive. As the heavy Oyumi will pull back. Town center falls. And now Izumato with almost enough trade here. He can walk in, grab this town center. He can start a trade route on the other side of the map, coming to this town center, no problems. And he should be having a very, very nice time. Also, we've got that Beast Slayer coming through. Hero plus 10% speed. I haven't seen this one before. I think that plus 10% speed is somewhat new to the Beast Slayer tech. 4.1 speed plus 10%. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I mean, for Polyphemus, it's going to help. How much on the Atalanta? She's going to be zooming. But it's mostly the extra 2x damage, right, against myth units to make it very, very, very sad to be a myth unit lover against Artemis. But nonetheless, the town center slowly coming up. A couple of Yati Spearmen can come in and make life hard here and slow this down. We've also got the Titan Gate coming through for Izumato just to say, you're not going to resign. I will come in and kill you. Joe has managed to macro up another army, but he hasn't tried to build anything else here. He's still just going for Yumi Horse Archer, which I just don't think it's going to be working. Izumato's also now brought himself 20 villagers onto favor, so he can start building more Chimera, more Centaur if he wants to at this point as well. I think the Centaur angle at this point in the game is very, very strong, especially when you get 20 plus villagers on favor. You can build basically 2 Centaur every 30 seconds or something. I can't remember. Maybe it's even less. At the moment, it's 47 favor per minute, which is, yeah, 3 or 4 Centaur a minute, right? 14 times 4 is 48, 40, 52, 56, something like that, 56. I can't do math. It's a little bit less than 4 Centaur a minute, but still, 4 Centaur a minute is, in 2 minutes, we've got 8 Centaur. That's game over. As Izumato does end up finding the dub here, and Joe can't hold on. He tried to bring it back after a pretty disastrous early game. Did drag it very, very far. Izumato made some pretty big mistakes mid-game. I think he had a very, very, very strong army, but kept on sort of allowing the Joe heroes to get on top of those Centaur. And, well, ended up being a little bit too much for Joe to deal with in the end, as I thought it was looking terrible for Izumato because of the lack of trade route, but turns out Izumato had the better idea of let's go slowly into the trade. We can sort of max up an army. But even then, he took this fight over here and it didn't go too well. And then the trade route came online, but then Chimera came through. And I think because Joe didn't try any other unit comps, I think if he went away from the Yumi Horse Archer and into potentially maybe some On the Musha and Yadi Spearman. On the Musha makes sense here as a answer for the Chimera. Bushi as well, maybe, as could have been something to try, especially with the Prodromus that don't have any bonus versus them. But nonetheless, a very well played game from Izumato. If you guys enjoyed this one, make sure you hit the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next game.